You're 69 years old, all of a sudden you get a wild hair and you just decide that life needs to be different.
I was walking through my gorgeous 5-bedroom house, just kind of casually running my hand over the furniture and pieces of art over the wall and looking around and going, this is beautiful. There's nothing holding me here anymore. I felt like they were holding me back.
Hello, and welcome to The Secret of My Success, where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling life. I am your host, Erin Curran. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have not already, please subscribe to our channel, and if you enjoyed today's conversation, give us a like. Today, I am speaking with Alese Johnston. She is a visionary entrepreneur who is redefining aging with vitality. Alese is deeply passionate about longevity and the power of reinvention. She founded the Fabulous 70 Challenge, a movement proving that turning 70 is not the time to slow down, but to actually speed up and take on new experiences and challenge outdated beliefs about aging. Above all, Alese is a proud mom and grandmother, embracing life with curiosity, adventure, and a relentless pursuit of what's next. Please help me welcome Alese. So, Alese, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a delight to be here. I'm thrilled to get to meet you.
Thank you so much. So, where I normally start out our conversation is asking if there's a point in your life where you had a paradigm shift or you're dealing with a challenge, something that you overcame and that you'd like to share with the audience. Where'd you like to start?
Absolutely. So I am a little older than what a lot of people think. And when I was 69, I totally upended my life. Um, I realized that I was growing and changing, and I needed to create a new life to allow all that to happen. So when I was 69, I sold the company, I started a company, I got divorced, and I set this giant challenge for myself to do 70 new things the year I turned 70, just to shake things up.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was
So,
insane.
you're 69 years old, all of a sudden you get a wild hair and you just decide that life needs to be different. Like, how did you
Yeah.
arrive at that point?
So I had been working up to it. Looking back over the arc of my life, I can see that every few years I feel like I've outgrown myself. And I have to, I'm constantly trying to learn new things. It's just my MO. But sometimes going through all that learning means you have to reinvent yourself to grow into this new version of who you are. And so I went through a phase of that just before I turned 70. And I was walking through my gorgeous 5-bedroom house one afternoon, just kind of casually running my hand over the furniture and pieces of art over the wall and looking around and going, this is beautiful. There's nothing holding me here anymore. I have a mortgage. I have a marriage license. But at that point in my life, those were just pieces of paper to me. They didn't carry any extra meaning. I felt like they were holding me back. And I could undo all that. So I set on the path to do that and completely upended my life and became, or at least started on the path to becoming the person I am today. It was a very interesting process to just let go of some things that had taken me decades to build, that had been goals and aspirations at one point, and to realize that they were no longer the goal. It was time to walk away And that was an interesting experience. I got there, I think, by spending a lot of time with the therapist who taught me to journal endlessly and write down what I was really thinking and ask myself some important questions. What do I need? What's happening to me today? What do I feel? And up until that point in life, I had not spent a lot of time asking myself, what do I feel and what do I need? Like, how often in this society do we spend time with those questions?
Hardly at all.
Not taught to do that.
No.
We're taught to think about what our spouse needs, what our kids need, what our clients need, what our business partners need. We don't spend time with what we need.
Isn't that interesting? Because what I'm hearing is something that I think is very true. I just created a thing called the Values Reset. It's a 5-day challenge where I get people in touch with their 3 core values.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're saying, we're taught to dial into what other people need. It's all of
Mm-hmm.
us, right?
Yeah.
So everybody is taught to look for what everybody else needs, but nobody knows what anybody personally needs. And so if somebody wants to know what I need, how do I tell you what I really want?
If you haven't thought about it,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
how do your kids or your best friend or your spouse give you what you need if you don't even know what that is?
And how can you give it to them if they don't know what they need?
Right? It's a really interesting question. I think we need to spend some time with that. We need to give ourselves permission. It is not selfish
Right.
to say, I need X,
Mhm.
whatever that is. And, you know, it's going to create some uproar in your life once you embrace doing that. It certainly did in mine. Because there's some things I needed that were not fully acknowledged. I need to grow and learn more than anything else, constantly looking for something new.
Mhm.
And when you're married to someone who does not value growth, then that becomes a problem to both of you. It held me back. It made him unhappy. I was constantly annoying the hell out of him. So, you just have to think about how what your needs affect other people. So that's a whole other complication in life. Um, but it's led to an interesting journey because one of the things I need is to not be boring. Hate being boring. I want to spend time with friends, laughing and telling good stories. That's like really important to me. Friday night happy hour, hearing everybody tell about their adventures for the week is pure gold for me.
Mm.
So, one of the things that I like to tell people about and has become a big focus of my life is the Fabulous 70 challenge that I set for myself.
That's fantastic.
As I realized that I didn't want to be boring, I read this article in the Wall Street Journal with this gentleman who was just turning 60 and highlighted the fact that he realized that he actually was boring. He didn't have any new stories to tell for his friends. He was repeating himself. And, that's never good when you tell people the same story over and over again. And I said, "Oh, I hear you, brother. I feel your pain." Yeah. And he challenged himself. to do 60 new things the year he was 60. And I said, all right, game on. Let's do this. So I committed to a few friends that I would do 70 new things the year I was 70. That's no small undertaking. Have you ever sat down to do 70 of anything? That's more than 1 week. Um, so that was interesting in itself. When finding things that I've never done because I have not led a boring life up till now. So that was a bit of a challenge. Um, and then being accountable to actually do it uh, was a little daunting. So I decided to do blog posts and write about each one of my new adventures and put them out in public so that friends and family would read about them and hold me accountable for actually doing them. Um, so that turned into a thing. It's now a website called fabulous70.com. And I actually did it. I got all 70 done before my 71st birthday. I was real damn proud of that. It was a close call. We got down to the wire and there were a few too many left, but it helped having the accountability. So I learned a lot from that experience. I had not previously realized how much I held myself back. Even though I sat here and just told you how much I value growth, I will make excuses. That takes too much time. It costs too much money. Sounds like fun, but I don't want to do it by myself. I don't even anybody to go do it with. Always some lame excuse for why you're not getting out and fully living your life. But being accountable in public in this particular fashion forced me to let go of all those excuses. It's like it doesn't matter. I I don't care that I don't have time. I've got to get this done. Like the clock is ticking, sister. You know. Um, so throwing out the excuses changed who I am as a person. It taught me to embrace the adventure and find ways to get things done. Find a way to make the time, find the money, go do it by myself, or rope some friend into going with me. You just have to throw out all those I can't paradigms. And so now I find myself much more open to doing new things. It's just become part of who I am. It's like people walk up to me that I haven't seen for a while and they go, "What have you done new lately?"
Now that's what you're known for.
Yes, that's my identity at this point,
Wow.
which is a lot of fun.
I can imagine. Do you mind if I ask how old you are now?
I am 71 and a half.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So this is a fairly recent experience and wow, that's really amazing.
And you know what? The thing that really filled my heart was people would call me up, catch me at a coffee shop, wherever, and tell me what they had done new, what adventure they had been on or were going on. And one that's fabulous because it makes for a lot of conversation.
Oh yeah.
You know how people struggle to come up with something to talk about other than the weather. And this is an instant conversation starter that has nothing to do with how hot it is here in Arkansas.
Wow.
So that was good. And it got people in my social circle interested in having their own adventures, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is really cool. A few minutes ago, you were talking about wrapping up your marriage because you were talking about this need for growth, and your husband didn't have that same need. And
Mm-mm.
I think, what you had said was you were talking about how your needs impact somebody else. And it's like whether we know we have that need or not, it's impacting somebody else.
Yeah.
Because it's like you could just say, well, I have this need for growth, but it's really not very expressed and la la la. But like you're discontent and he's discontent and nobody knows why. But then you go on this soul searching journaling kind of an odyssey and you start to see the things that light you up. And then it
Mhm.
becomes really bright. And now you're this beacon for all of these other people,
Right.
which
Get the light
that's,
out from underneath the basket it was hiding under.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
which that's an absolutely beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun.
So tell me, like you're 69 years old, you're sitting here, you've decided that you're getting rid of your pieces of paper and you're going to grab some other pieces of paper, and like the mortgage and the marriage are out, and now here's that 70 at 70.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start? Like, you know, what was the process like for coming up with 70 different things?
It was a challenge. Like everything, I had a spreadsheet. I,
Of course.
I live and die by a
You're
spreadsheet.
you're speaking my language.
I thought I might be. Um, a spreadsheet in a database. Otherwise, I can't get by. Um, I I sat down and just started throwing some things on a list,
Yeah.
and it's like some of them were really aspirational, some of them were low hanging fruit, uh, and and as it turns out, the more I talked about it, the more people would send me ideas. So it was very much a participatory exercise. That made it a lot of fun. Now, it would have been even better if some people had like sent me checks to go with their ideas, but no. I mean, if you want me to go like to Europe and stay in an igloo, you got to help a sister out. Um, I mean, um, but all kidding aside, you just kind of you like you work through it. It's like this one is going to cost me like 50 cents and this one's going to cost 10 grand. And you just start working out the budget and figure it out. And the same thing with the time. Like some of them just happen. Um, I remember I was always going out to happy hour on Fridays I had standing happy hour date with a friend of mine. And we would go to the oyster bar. And in all of my decades of going to the oyster bar, oddly, I had never eaten an oyster because I hate them. But I was sitting there one night, I was going, dude, I just need to eat an oyster. It's something I've never done before. So that was easy. It just kind of like organically happened.
Yeah.
And I had an excuse to try food that I had intentionally not eaten before. And I won't do it again because I did not enjoy the experience. But I can now say I've done it.
Well,
So that
I
was
think
easy.
I think that's the other important part. We're not saying do 70 things that are really going to thrill you. If you've never done it before, how the hell do you know?
You don't. You don't. And the other thing is you don't have to do them again.
True.
Like there are some things that I did that I had not done before because I couldn't commit to like doing them over and over and over again. And so you don't let yourself do something just once. Like I took one airplane flying lesson. Now,
Oh,
Would I like to go do that every week? Yes, ma'am. Sign me up. But we're back to that time thing. It doesn't fit in right now. So I did it once without having to commit to doing it all the time.
Mm.
Like I went to one pole dancing class. I didn't sign up for like a whole series of them. I didn't go every week. Would I love to? Yes. But you give yourself permission to do things just once without making a long-term commitment to them. And that's fun in itself. Just little samplers.
I was going to say that must have been a really freeing experience to give yourself permission to just go once.
Yeah. It's an interesting paradigm. And I didn't realize that that was a thing previously. You know, it's like you learn a lot setting out on this journey.
I,
Now,
you know,
oh,
go ahead.
I said now I'm trying to figure out which of those experiences I would like to do on the regular and like incorporate them into ongoing fun. But I haven't quite gotten there yet. I've been too busy with actual work to make time for that. It
But I think that that's a wonderful problem to have, if you don't mind
is.
my saying. I think so, yeah.
We have
Because
good problems.
I I I certainly don't have an experience of you from before. But
Hmm.
but the person that I'm speaking with is vivacious and alive and generative and just, I mean, you stop smiling like every night. But
Yes, I do. I do stop smiling every once in a while. But you're just fun to talk to, so why?
thank you. I also think that it's a really powerful thing that you're pointing to with the accountability piece. Talk to me a little bit about what that was like, because a few minutes ago we're talking about your journaling. Like, what do I need? What do
Mhm.
I feel? Like, what happened today? Well, the what happened today, now you got all kinds of different answers. What do I feel and what do I need? You're starting to get in touch with these things. And it sounds like you were probably a fairly connected person before this. How has the accountability piece played into all of this?
That's been an interesting learning in and of itself.
Hmm?
Um, I do not like to be told what to do. I don't take it real well. But when I was in a Vistage group, one of the things that we learned was to humble ourselves to being held accountable. And I learned over the course of that experience that it's something that I often need in order to stay engaged with something. I need to know I'm accountable to another human. I will get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym if I'm accountable to you to show up. But if I'm not, my ass is probably staying in bed because it's too early, you
I,
know?
I can appreciate that 1,000%.
I actually am blessed to have a long term accountability buddy that I get together with every Monday over coffee, and we have a list of things that we hold each other accountable for getting done.
Mhm.
And so going through that has taught me the value of being accountable to another human for the things that come out of my mouth that I say I'm going to do. Um, I did the journaling not because I enjoyed doing it, but because I knew that my therapist was going to want to see my journal. It was homework. The day before our session, I had to email it to her. Um, so, I'm always going to get my homework done. I didn't want to have to explain why I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, so I've come to learn that I don't accept accountability that somebody else imposes on me. But if I humble myself and invite someone to hold me accountable, then I will absolutely get it done, whatever it is. But the other thing I learned doing the Fabulous 70 challenge is that accountability doesn't have to be a painful drudge. Like writing those blog posts every week turned out to be a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And so, if you can find a way to create that accountability structure for yourself that is fun, that's nirvana.
Truly.
Hmm.
Absolutely, truly. Are you familiar with the Miracle Morning?
I've heard about it. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a book by Hal Elrod, and I was introduced to it in November of 2019. I
Hmm.
had just come off of a personal development course, went to a marketing weekend to learn some cool stuff about building my coaching practice.
Hmm.
And Hal was one of the people who spoke at this event. And he was sharing his story and how he had come up with this process of creating your morning for yourself before your day starts. And I thought, I need this because it's meditation, it's affirmations, it's visualization, it's exercise, it's reading, it's journaling, it's all of these amazing things.
Hmm.
And it's also relatively flexible. So I took it and I made it my own, but I also gamified it because finding a good accountability partner can be a little challenging. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but like I've tried having friends as accountability partners, and we're
Hmm.
usually good for a couple of days while the fire's lit. But then once one of us slides, the other goes, "Oh, thank God, I don't have to do that anymore." That
Right.
is not a good accountability partner.
No.
What I did for this miracle morning is I numbered the pages of my journal so that when I missed a day, I had to start back at zero.
Oh, that's
Ouch.
painful.
Yeah.
Ouch.
The whole, like, if I skipped a morning, the whole thing reset back to nothing. So I did it like weekdays and weekends. And I was so proud of myself because I think it was like, I missed like 4 days at the beginning, and the number in my journal got up to like 526.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that was when I started doing a little bit of retooling because kind of like what you're pointing to here, after a little while, when you've tried on something new, you figure out what works, you figure out what doesn't, you figure out what you like, you figure out what you don't. It's like going to a buffet.
Yeah.
You can try little bits of everything, and then you go back and you take more of what you'd like.
Yes.
Take
Oh,
more of,
perfect.
like,
Yes.
if you don't like the oysters, don't take them.
Right?
You don't get mad at them that they're there.
No. No, because my friend Mark loves them. There are lots of people that love them just because I don't. It's all good.
It is all good. So I also love this idea of leveraging your strengths
Mm.
because what I hear is there are certain tendencies that you've had that you've built as a business owner over the course of your life, and a strong, successful, independent minded woman,
Hmm.
that you're playing to these strengths in how you're setting up that challenge. Like having the blog post to write once a week. If you enjoy writing, you enjoy sharing, you enjoy happy hour, you set up these things so that it's not drudgery. You're not going, "Oh God, I have to report in again."
Right? You have to know yourself well enough to create those structures. And I think that's really important to spend some time asking yourself, really, like, what am I good at? And acknowledge that, take pride in it, and then figure out how you can use it to your own good. Like, what are the structures that really work for you? Not going to work for everybody.
That's absolutely true. And I also really think that the idea that you were pointing to, accountability is only accountability when it's something that you've decided that you want.
Right?
I don't think it's called accountability if it's been assigned to you.
No, what's the word for that? It's not coming to me. I know there is one.
There probably is one.
Yeah,
But it's basically when
good.
you're being, you've been assigned a responsibility. And the word responsibility I don't like using in that fashion because responsibility is abused as well. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's more of a boss subordinate kind of a relationship as opposed to a support relationship.
I think you're onto something there. It's like, where does the power lie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if I'm having trouble with the authority figure over something that I said I wanted in the first place, even if that authority figure is me,
That gets all twisty and complicated, doesn't
it
it?
does. But I think that, like, especially most of the people who are listening to this podcast can relate to, because it's like, why the hell can't I ever just blah, blah, blah for myself? Why can't I show up and walk every morning or go to the gym? Why do I have to make a promise to somebody else? Why can't I just do it for myself? Um, but it's like, we have these deep seated unworthiness, imposter kinds of conversations. Like, I should be focusing my time on serving somebody else or making sure that somebody else's needs are met.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing I ever did was doing that miracle morning, because even though I stopped doing the miracle morning after, a year and a half, I still dedicate the first 2 hours at least of my morning just to me, meditating and journaling. And like, if you want to have a conversation with me, it's not happening before 10 a.m. and I get up at 5:30.
Oh.
I get up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock because I want to make sure that I get me in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, after like 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'll start to book things because I want to make sure that I've taken care of having plenty of time to make breakfast or go to the gym or whatever it is I choose to do. Because if I put gym time at
Mm-hmm.
5:30, 6 o'clock after my day is wound down,
Yeah,
I'm not
happening.
going.
Mm-hmm.
Not a chance in hell.
Oh, totally not happening. That's something I'm working on right now. I really would like to have more gym time. And I have some dedicated time on Wednesdays at 11:30 where I have booked time with a trainer at Osteo Strong, and I go do my Osteo Strong routine, and then my trainer, bless her soul, tortures me through the X3 routine, and I show up for that every week because I have an appointment on my calendar and I'm accountable to another human, and I paid money for it. So that's the other thing that works for me. Um, but I find that I struggle to haul my ass down to the actual gym, even though I've paid money for that. Like, I have a gym membership, but I somehow that's like too flexible. I don't have an appointment. I don't have another person that I'm supposed to show up for. So apparently that's the key to me is having a person to do it with in that case. So I got to work on that.
It's really powerful to know.
Hmm.
Because,
That's
like, with,
the whole thing is you got to know yourself.
yes,
Like this whole miracle morning thing clearly works like a charm for you.
yes, it doesn't work for everybody.
Would not work for me. It,
Well, and I think that there's the commitment behind it. I hired a health coach this year, and it was pretty much because my blood work was so bad that I got turned down for a life insurance policy.
whoa,
And it wasn't the fact that my blood work was bad, it's the fact that I prefer to go to a naturopath and I'm not going to take prescription drugs.
gotcha.
And so my blood work is saying I should be on statins and I might be needing to look at something that's a little pre-diabetic, and I'm like, la 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 la, I don't want to hear that. Um and after 8 months of trying to do it myself, I finally just hired a functional nutritionist. And, we're working on balancing hormones and I cut my numbers in half
Oh,
in
congrats.
10 weeks because I had a structure. But then when she says, okay, great, now you know what to do, you can just go and fly, be free.
Oh,
I was
no. No, no.
the
It's
last
all over.
hell no, it's like, I've got to have,
Yeah.
and so like, what is the sweet spot in there? And like what you're pointing to is really powerful, because when we know ourselves, when we take the time, and here's the reason why most people won't do it, because it's a messy process and you're not going to like everything you find.
Right.
Like, did you enjoy everything you found when you started going through that process?
No, there's some things about myself I really don't like and I wish weren't true.
How have you dealt with those aspects of yourself?
It's a work in progress.
True.
Um, when you get real honest with yourself, you'll find some things that are pretty broken that you would like to pretend are not broken. You'd like, I, I, I would like to stand here at 71 and tell you that I'm a completely healed human and I've got my shit together. And that would be the biggest damn lie. Because I still have daddy issues, and my father's been dead for decades. Um, and, I've had some relationships that left deep, deep scars. I just not a perfect human. And I wish I were. Um, my ego gets in the way of business relationships every once in a while. And I have to get humble. You just have to be willing to be aware of the parts of you that are broken and love them anyhow. Just it's a challenge. I recently made friends with this gentleman who is deeply spiritual, and he's been helping me embrace some of those parts of myself that are so broken, and that's been a cool experience.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's all okay.
Yeah.
You can be terribly, terribly broken and imperfect and no longer gorgeous, no longer skinny, all those things that we tell ourselves that we have to be, and we don't. There are too many shoulds in life. It's we can throw all those out. They're oh, turning 70, you would not believe the list of shoulds that people want to drop on you. You should hang out in your rocking chair, and you should not be building companies. You should not being on the dating apps and trying to build new relationships. And you should not be going out to happy hour on Fridays, because don't you know you have gray hair and you're a grandmother? And what society has some expectations that I think are just ridiculous, and they don't align with the purpose driven creative life that I continue to want to build for myself. Perfect or not, doesn't matter.
And
I
I
went
think,
on a tirade. Sorry.
no, I think you are a shining example for people who are going through this process all over the world. Like, because, I'm going to call you out if you don't mind.
No, go for it. I'll duck.
One of the conversations that we had when we were pre-qualifying for this conversation, you were talking about being so creative, and I don't know how it came up. I was sharing with you a friend of mine who has gorgeous long white hair like you, and she dyes it purple. And you were
Oh,
like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to do that." And I was
yeah.
like, "Okay, and why don't you?"
Oh, yeah. Why don't I? Because I tell myself I can't.
Yeah.
See?
So,
Not
you know,
perfect.
Well, and nobody is. Anyone who says that they are, I run far, far away from. I don't know. Did I tell you there was this one person I was talking to about the possibility of being on the podcast? And when I said, so, tell me, like, what's your story? What would we be talking about? She's like, oh no, I came out of the womb successful.
Well, good for her.
And I was, well, that's kind of what I said. I was basically like, that's not my people. There wouldn't be any place for us to go. So, congratulations. She was serious.
Oof.
She was deadly, embarrassingly serious. I know she won't listen to this podcast, so I'm not going to say who she is, but lovely young lady.
Mhm.
But her goal was to get on podcasts for marketing purposes, because that's what we're all told we should do.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, no, my podcast is a space for people to hear about someone's real life lived experience, so they
Mhm.
can see life is messy. You're not fucked up. There's no problem here. It's just, this is what it is. Each of us is given a completely different script. We start in different places, and then we play the game and we make choices, and that sends us down different paths. And some of us get beat, some of us have alcoholic parents, and some of us, like whatever, and some of us do the beating, and some of us do the drugs, and some of us, do the overdosing or the like. But it's like, we all make, in my personal philosophy, is we all make these agreements before we get here,
Oh, I
so
agree.
that we could play out a game.
Mm-hmm.
So ain't none of us got nothing over nobody else, because we're all running the same rackets. We're all playing this thing called life, and nobody's going to get out of it alive. So why?
Isn't that the most interesting concept, to sit with it for a few minutes, that you agreed to this before you were born? That you have a soul contract to play this game. That is a singularly interesting concept, that I signed off on this.
Yeah, it puts things in a completely different perspective.
It does. But in my conversations with Bill, I'm starting to, where we talk about that subject, I am starting to embrace the fact that I think I am just now hitting my stride.
Yeah.
I'm just now getting to my real purpose in life, that everything up to here has been prep work. It's not that my mission is over, it's that it's just now getting started good. And I'm excited to see what happens next.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's fun. It gives you purpose
Yeah.
and joy. It brings joy to my life.
Yes. That's a beautiful thing. That's inside of that conversation. Like, people say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And it sounds so trite, because you think, no, I want to go to Tahiti. Like, I want to be on a beach sipping something with an umbrella in it. And like, that's the
Yes.
purpose. Well,
Yes.
yeah. But when you go on a vacation, like, at the end, you're just going to come home. So why not just stay home? Because it's the destination, isn't it?
But I want to lay on the beach and have somebody bring me pina coladas.
But that's the experience. That's
Yeah,
not the destination.
you're right.
So we confuse what we think the destination is with the journey.
Oh,
Because the destination is, you're in a pine box.
yeah,
That's where all of us are headed.
yeah.
You know? And it's like, that reframe really helps, because what if what I thought was important doesn't really matter? And will I let myself think about that? What if I have been living on a particular other track and all of a sudden now I'm doing a little bit of a recalculation. Do you stay in the old so that you can be right about what you did? Or do you start to jump into the new so that you can align with who you are?
Well, you know which side of that argument I vote for.
I do. But I think that that's part of that questioning that we should be asking ourselves. When we truly ask ourselves, like, what do I need? What do I
Hmm.
feel?
Yeah. What I need is continue to grow and have new experiences. Deep down in my core, that is what Alese needs. That and good friends and good red wine. And we my little family no longer does much in the way of physical gifts on holidays and stuff. We buy experiences for each other. We go on trips together and make new memories. That is more important than things. That's been an interesting perspective to come to. But it just feels I would rather go on an adventure with my kids than or share a really good meal with them. We're kind of into tasting menu restaurants too. So,
Oh,
but that's
nice.
experience.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I think that's fantastic.
It works for us.
And
And
that's the point.
yeah, and you don't clutter up your house with a bunch of stuff. Kind of anti stuff at this stage in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I can
The
appreciate.
bookshelf behind me is the most cluttered up spot in my whole house.
I think that that's actually, a good place to come from, because at the end somebody's going to have to clean up after you.
Right? Bless their hearts.
Well,
I worry about that. Uh, so, like, what am I leaving here? Like, I have some lingerie I don't know that I want my son-in-law to go through. And, like, what do you do? Do you have a good friend come in and look and you tell them, look, if here's the key, and before my kids get there, I want you to go through this list of drawers and they're out.
that I
What's
can
in the
say
bookshelf need to go before the kids get here,
that
you know?
that leave some instructions for the estate.
Yeah, need to think that through. Not in any hurry to exit stage left, but you should have a plan just in case.
Well, but then again, at that point, what do you care what they think? It's not like they're going to make fun of you at the holidays.
Oh, yes, they will.
Well, you won't care
Can
because
you
you
believe what Gramps did? Yeah, I can hear that now. I'll come back and haunt their ass.
that's funny. That's really funny. Well, we are heading pretty close to the 50-minute mark, so I just wanted to say, man, it's been great talking with you. Is there something that maybe we haven't covered, or that you want to circle back and highlight for our listening audience about what do you think they should take away from our conversation?
That's such a great question. I think if there's anything I would like to leave with people, it's to structure your life in a way that makes curiosity and reinvention priority number one for yourself.
That is a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Curiosity has been a big word in the last week, so I message received.
Excellent. Thank
Very good. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Elise.
you. It's been fun, Erin.
You're very welcome. And for you, the listening and viewing audience, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Secret of My Success, where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling life. I am your host, Erin Curran. Again, if you have not, please give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, it really helps us a lot. We look forward to seeing you next time.